see the thing real quick. I'll do an intro. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Relaxed and Fast. I know it's been a second since I've been with you guys, so hi, everyone. Today we're gonna start with just a quick little Nationals meet recap. As if you don't know, D3 Nationals was last week, and our very own Hope Murphy was competing, and we also had Christian, the high jumper, and we had, I keep wanting to say Thomas was down there, but it was who's it? It was Kitar. Keep getting confused. Kitar Olsen and Christian Pfeiffer for high jump.
And
Kaedan Faggs in the long jump. Yes. Yep. Too many names swimming around in my head. But I guess we'll start off with Hope. How was your experience? How did everything go for you personally?
Yeah, I ran the 800. I made finals. I kind of ran the back race and then kicked it down the last 100 to make finals in the 8, and then ended up All-American in the 8. So the 9 went to finals this year. So top 8 podium for All-American, ended up 8th. I ran 209 something in the final to get All-American. It was good. The weather held up the last 2 days for us, which was nice. Overall, like the rest of them, Christian ended up national runner-up with a school record and a
freaking
PR.
Awesome to watch.
Yeah,
cleared over 7 feet.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a really high.
Yeah. The only reason that Evan's in it was he had a little sticky patch at was it 2 meters? So he lost off misses otherwise. They both went out pretty high. He had a really great second half of his jumps. Kitar had his first nationals. He's a sophomore in hammer, which is a big deal to be there that young and a field that tough. And then Kaedan, long jumps. He didn't have the showing he was hoping for. He had some pretty far jumps, just towed the line and got the foul call in them. But it was really cool. We had a really big group show up and show out each day from the team with us being close. There's some pretty cool pictures if you look on the high jump stuff of everybody up in the stands cheering for Christian and high jump on Friday. But yeah. Anything, Coach?
Yeah, it was solid meet. Obviously we're hoping Kaedan and Kitar would do just a little bit better, but that's how these meets go. It's always good to get the experience and get to go. It was nice to be closer to home. It would have been nice if the weather would have cooperated a little bit better. It was just the next 2 or 3 days after the national meet, it was beautiful outside. So we just caught a really rough 3.5 days of weather, but it was fun. The D3 Glory Days did their event, and we got to be part of that. And they had an athlete social prior to that. They had gummy bears and cookies and patches that you could iron on, and
I saw they had the dunk tank going on.
Yeah, the dunk tank. That was Second Soul hosted that, and they put Alex Phillip in it.
That's freaking awesome.
For the most part, it was just shoes in there that you threw it and shoes fell on his head. And then Jamie Daly, right as we got there, decided to go get actual ice water from the restaurant. It took me 30 tries, but I was one of the only ones that actually poured water all over. It was pretty bad. It's the reason I run. I kept telling Alex, there's a reason I'm a runner.
She was close multiple times early. But
I hit the penguin each time. I didn't miss the penguin. I just didn't hit the target.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good. It was good. It's always nice to walk away from those meets with some hardware, and having 2 All-Americans is a really big deal.
We got little cottages right on the water, and that was fun. We did a lot of hanging out as a crew back at the cottage, and some bonding. Got to know. We kept joking with Kitar. I know Kitar, but you just get to spend so much more time around him and Kaedan. It's the most I've spent around the 2 of them. And Abby Collier came with us, and she found this TikTok that was he one thrower at one of their conference meets?
UCLA.
Yeah, with his hammer, and he called it his pet rock, and it was a bunch of pictures of him dragging his pet rock. This is my pet rock. I take my pet rock on walks because the hammer looks like a giant rock on a leash. And we then only referred to Kitar's hammer as the pet rock the rest of the trip. So it became the joke of I gotta go to pet rock practice. So we made everybody pet rocks that we found on the beach with little faces on them by the end. So we all had pet rocks. Even like yesterday he left to start driving all the way home to Montana. And I was like, got your pet rock with you? He's like, yep, in the back. We're good. But
I think one question that I do have for you is I think we hear a lot of talk about like the trackflation and how the times are getting so much faster. So for you personally, racing in that 800 final, did it feel any different to past years, or was it somewhat similar? What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It was the fastest the field has been going in. It was interesting, the 800. So I said 9 of us make final. It doesn't happen often, but the 9 of us that made finals were ranked 1 through 9 coming in.
Okay.
Like, that doesn't normally happen. So everybody essentially was 2:07 or faster coming into that heat. We didn't run that necessarily at prelims. We'd all run it. And you usually have some who's out way far. Like, we've had Esther Sealand, we had Emma Kelly, but to have 2 of them out there running 2:05 is the first time I've been in an 800 like that. That there's not just one up front, that they're actually duking it out. I ran the 800 prelim last year. It was my first 800 final outdoor. I usually run the 800 indoor as like my focus, is how it's just worked out. But it was fast. They went out in 61, I think. Is that right?
I think they went out in 59.
59. There you go. I by the time I got across the line, it was like 61, 62. So it was fast. It went out really hot. And like I said, then essentially it wasn't just like one person doing that. It was the pack went. So that was definitely speedy. Last time we were there, I ran with Esther Sealand, who was a really good 800 runner, in the 15, and she had to run the 15 before her 8, so it was like the complete opposite, where she took us out super slow in the 15, and then we just cranked as we got down. That we finished the 15 in the 63, but going out that fast was definitely different.
Dude, it's a completely different ball game. Like watching the 3K steeple prelims, looking at the results there, it essentially took like 9 flat to make it out, or a lot of the guys ended up going under 9 for a freaking prelim to make it out. I'm like, that's pretty ridiculous. And then that final ended up, they went out tactical, and still the winner ran like 850 flat, and I'm just like standing there watching it in awe. The state. But
I think another interesting thing, that was it Stu that mentioned, someone mentioned at the D3 Glory Days thing, I think the 800 was one that nobody scratched out of this year. Like, it was really? Like, there was a couple of the events that nobody scratched out of. Running wise, it normally has at least a couple that it was kind of a like, who's here is here and showing up, which I believe it, how fast it got right at the end with people trying to squeeze in, like for it to go from 11.5 to 10.2, I think was last one in. Yeah. That if you were running it, you were trying to get into it, for sure. It's just interesting. Like you said, is it's just getting quick, and it's getting more and more specialized. I don't think there was probably a ton of scratch out in the 1500 this year either, for it to go down to 429. But
yeah, I didn't pay as close of attention to the 15 since we weren't trying to get into that. I would say that the biggest difference is that over the past 10 years, there has typically been a 201 or 202 woman in the field. And this year there wasn't, but the final was definitely faster. The prelims, it took about the same. It usually takes about 210 to make a final, 210, 211, which was about the same this year. But Hope ran about what Kelly ran to get second in 2019.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it was pretty close to what Kelly ran. In that year, Esther won, and Phoebe was the one that took him out. So she was another, 203, 204 type woman. But yeah, this year it was just so much deeper. Like 205, and then like 7 people at 207, which has never happened before. And so I think, there's just, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of years with some of these 5th year, 6th year type people filtering out. Hope ran at 5 outdoor national meets. That's never happened before. So there were a couple people that probably did that this year, but that won't happen again.
Yeah.
And so just the amount of people that have that amount of experience and that kind of stuff, I think, made this year a pretty unique year in some of those terms. So
it's not that you won't have fifth years. You'll have people mixed in. Like, I know one of the WashU girls is coming back that was in the final. She had an injury freshman year, but, like, she didn't get to run freshman year then. So it's, like, to have the 5 healthies, like, the unique part about it. Yeah. Yep. I think, like you said, with our field being, like, 2 205s and a bunch of 207s, if you go back and look at the pictures of us finishing, it's very interesting with us being those 9, that it's the 2 of them, like, for the lean for the win, and then everybody, I'm all the way out in lane 4 because it was so wide and deep, like, trying to make any difference there, that we were all within like 2 steps of each other than that like pack behind them. That is just interesting how it almost exactly played out that way.
I mean, it was the same way in the prelims too.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you afterwards, and you were saying how you went all the way out to lane 4, lane 5 just to get that vantage point, and like it's consistently across the board having races like that was just, as a spectator, freaking awesome. Really, really cool stuff. Anything else?
I think that's good.
All right. Well, we will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for sticking around.
Yep. Hope you enjoy the little bonus episode here.
Nice little short one for you guys. We'll see you.